So it's been a while since I've done an update of the car. I apologize for that. In fact, I've kind of vaporized off of YouTube for a little while with the car updates, and it's really because I was waiting till I had something to update you about. And at this point, I've had the car a little over 2 years, I believe, about 61,000 miles, and I've got some significant things to update you about. So I think this is a good time for me to catch you back up with kind of what's going on with the car, do a synopsis of the new additions, aftermarket stuff, and then just kind of how it's been living with the car for 2 years. So I think in the back is probably a really good place to start. If you've seen my other aftermarket updates, you've probably noticed there's some different stuff going on here in the back, and we'll cover that really quickly. Bear with me as I get the camera where we need it. Okay, so obviously there's a spare tire holder in the back here, and this whole system's made by Rigid Armor. It's super easy to fold down and get out of the way. I had to do this for something we'll get to in a second, which is bigger tires and a lift kit. We'll come to that in a second, but I'll show you kind of how this rear tire rack works so that you can kind of see how it folds. It's fairly simple. Here at the bottom, you'll see there's a little metallic latch. Just pop that out of the way, and then I can pull this cotter pin out, and it's super simple just to ease this down, and then it pops right up. So this is not, you see all this stuff in the back and you feel like, oh man, it must be a pain to get in the back of the car. It really isn't. I might as well go ahead and cover kind of what I keep in the back here while we're back here. This is just a random roll of Gorilla Tape. Not a bad idea to have that around. Got a folding chair. I got my bag here that's full of recovery gear. I got recovery straps, additional ratchet straps, all kind of accoutrement that you might find that you need on the trail. Here on the other side, you'll see, hopefully, yeah, you can see it. I've got a little power, a Rockpals battery generator. It stays plugged into the car here so that it always is on full charge when I need it. Got just a cooler bungee corded in here where it doesn't flop around. A Rockpals 100-watt solar panel that can charge this if I'm away from the car for a long time in the sun. And then underneath this, where the spare tire used to be, is a whole, complete toolkit with sockets and all kind of stuff. I got some two-way radios that I keep charged that are down under there. So I've got, jacks and all that kind of stuff. So where the spare tire used to be, I'm using that space to keep this relatively open so that I can put groceries or whatever I need to back here. Folding this up is just as simple as it is to fold it down. Flip this up. Put the latch back in place, put a little forward pressure on it, and I can get the cotter pin right in there. It stays really stable. It's got one of those anti-wobble adjustments on there, so it's pretty easy to keep it from wobbling. Then you can see I've got these rock slide cargo strap mounts, one on each side. Here I've got some all-stop mini recovery boards, and I also have my whip. It's just an off-road flag. I've got it furled under one of those bungees, or not bungees, but those rubber kind of reusable twists. And I keep it tucked under my Thule Hull-a-Port kayak rack right there, so it's kind of out of the way. It's the only thing I take off the car when I go through a car wash, is I take that off. I've never tried actually going through the car wash. And then on the other side, I've got just I can't remember the brand. It's from Amazon. It is funny. The color they had that matched my recovery boards required you to have something laser engraved. It was just part of the product, so I got the Subaru logo in there. But I keep some more of those little rubber reusable twists in there, some ratchet straps, some gloves, and then I've got a net that fits on my Yakima SkinnyWarrior basket that I keep in there. And so this just allows me to get to things that I might want to get to quickly, any day of the week, where I don't have to fold everything down and dig into tool bags and boxes and stuff. It can all be accessible right there. And then this Rigid Armor spare tire carrier also allows me to pull this recovery ring off, and I've got a 2-inch towing hitch there. I run a Kuat double bike rack on here all the time. And I have a really big Trek Enduro mountain bike with wide handlebars, and I don't have to run an extension or anything. The Kuat mounts right to that, and none of this is in the way, which is really nice. And I also can, tow a trailer or whatever behind it, which I have. And in fact, I think the Rigid Armor, you can Google this to be sure, but the Rigid Armor fold down hitch carrier has 1,000 pounds more towing rating than even the car does. So I haven't diminished my towing ability at all by running this, and it's given me a lot of space to use where the spare tire used to be. I had to kind of make this. I bought a Jeep one and then re-drilled the holes so it would mount to the lug nuts on this car, and I kind of made my own wiring harness that goes down there to where your trailer lights would plug into. So that's pretty cool. The only other things that are going on of note, I guess, is I put a bigger shovel. I had to use my recovery shovel a couple of times, and I had a little tiny shovel I got off of Amazon, and it was really annoying to dig out my front bumper with that. So those are that's just on there with quick fist, and have another one of those little rubberized little straps or twists or whatever to help secure it. Still loving my Orbis Overlanding rack wing. I'm probably going to get another one of these for the other side, and this is a 1.75 gallon fuel can that I keep non-ethanol fuel in. It tends to last a little longer, and I'm going to get a water can and another rack wing on the other side. I think you've seen my Rally Armor mud flaps. What's going on in the front that's new? I've still got the DDS4 ditch lights, loving those. I did get the brand, I know it's a strange name, but it's called Her Necklace. These Raptor lights. They have no utility other than they look really cool. In fact, I'll crank it up real quick so that you can see what they look like. I just think it looks neat to have all the different color lights in the front. And I've got the Crux-Moto Fog Light Tint on the OEM fog lights at the bottom. So I think, with the headlights and the OEM fog lights with the tint on it and the Raptor lights, I think the front end looks really cool, especially when I turn those DDS4s on. And in case you haven't seen the other video, and I'm not sure how in depth I covered it, my DDS4s are ran to a little remote. I keep this little remote in my door, and I can just turn them on with the touch of a button. And they have some modes and stuff you can put them in there. Flash, and I think it'll do like SOS or something. Not that I think that there's a lot of utility in having your ditch lights do SOS, but it looks cool, and they are very functional. At some point, one of the future plans I have is I can't remember the name of the company, but they make a bar that uses these recovery points, and it's just a thin metal bar that kind of adds, I guess, some additional, front end protection. However, I think it just really looks cool, and it would give me a place. Got a bubble in my paint right there, or just a scratch. It'll give me a place to put 2 more DDS4s right here, and at some point I'll do they make a hidden winch that replaces the metal bumper on the inside, and so I'll probably run a winch through here and then have the bar above it with some DDS4s there, and that way I can cheat my ditch lights further out to the ditch and get my front lighting squared away with that bumper mount DDS4s. Still have the CVT awning up here. It's a Pioneer 48-inch CVT. I get asked all the time how I mounted that to the car. It's just the little L brackets. Let me see if I can get in there. It's just the L brackets that the CVT awning came with, and then the channel of the Thule bars, you just put these little square head bolts through there and it mounts right up. The only thing I had to buy separately was that square head bolt. And I think I got 8 of them on Amazon for $4 or something. So the only other thing that's really going on with the car, like I said when we were talking about the back, that's new, and I think it's the most significant thing that's new, is the lift kit and bigger tires. So I'm running a LP Aventure, and that's the same people that make a lot of stuff for Subarus, but they make the ditch light mounts I have. But the LP Aventure, a 2-inch lift. It's not a coil, it's just the blocks, the spacers. But it gave me enough ground clearance to get some Maxxis Razr AT tires that are 245, 65 R17s that have no rubbing on-road, off-road at any point in the steering. I haven't had any rubbing at all, so that's been great. And yeah, so you know, I couldn't put this spare tire in the spare tire area anymore because it's bigger. So I had to put that whole rear spare tire thing, which I wanted to do. I think it looks cooler. It's and it gave me the mounting options for the you know, the, sorry, my brain's not branding, for the waterproof box and the recovery board, so that I could get my old recovery boards out of the basket, and the basket's more readily usable without the recovery boards in there. So what else? I think that's about it in terms of new stuff on the car. So we'll cover a little bit just what it's been like to live with this car for a little over 2 years and 60,000 miles. Spoiler alert, I still love it. It's great. It's really easy to keep clean. I mean, it basically looks brand new in here. The StarTex, I've had no issues. I got dogs, I got 3 kids. It's very easy to keep it clean in the car. So even with 3 kids and dogs in and out in the back, I don't have any tears. I don't have any real scuffs or scrapes anywhere. And it's just super easy to keep it clean. And there's been plenty of times where the floorboard, everything in here is super muddy. In fact, I went off-roading one time and like an idiot, I rolled my windows up and forgot to close my sunroof and like threw mud all in the car. And it was pretty easy to get the mud out. In fact, the only part of the car that's incredibly difficult to keep clean is you see all the grass and stuff. If this was all caked up with mud, the mud gets sprayed out fairly easily, but the grass just sticks to that. But I don't really care a whole lot about that. So I get asked sometimes, do I have any regrets about this car, and would I get the car again? Absolutely, no doubt in my mind, would buy this car. The only issues I have with this car are as follows. One, bear with me, I'm trying to put my mount back on here so I can put this on the tripod. Super professional videography here, as you can tell. So the only issues I have with the car is I think the paint is kind of weak. It chips really easily. I think that the glass that it comes with breaks really easily. I mean, I guess all glass can crack when you hit a rock, but I had a tiny rock hit it and completely demolished it. In fact, I put a new windshield on here. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but there's a nice little crack running through here. The day after I put a new windshield on it, I took another rock, so now I'm just living with the crack. I'm not gonna put another windshield in it every other day because there's tons of rocks on the road where I live. But the car's been great. The only thing mechanical I've had any issues with is the infotainment system tends to be a little glitchy. And when I say a little glitchy, that just means that every once in a while it freezes up, or you hit a button, you know, turn off the auto start, you know, adjust the AC, click a different radio station, all in a short sequence, and the whole thing freezes up, turns off, turns back on. And it's never been a long-term problem. It just is glitchy and it's kind of annoying sometimes. And when it turns off, you know, kind of your driver assist. It turns off the auto braking and all that kind of stuff, which once again, not a huge deal, but it is a little bit annoying. And then I guess if I could snap my fingers and make this not a CVT transmission and be a standard automatic transmission, I would probably do that. But I've had no issues out of it. I know I've only got 61,000 miles on it, but 0 issues out of it. And from my understanding, for a CVT, it's a fairly robust CVT transmission, so I don't think, you know, Nissan has a lot of problems. And if you compare, like I've seen people compare images of the components of a Nissan CVT with what the Wilderness has in it, and they don't even look like they're from the same universe. So hopefully that bodes well for the long-term reliability of the car. I did get the extended warranty, but I really I don't have any issues. I think it would be a peace of mind thing, but it's been great. Now, I also get asked, well, is this stuff on the top really loud? I don't know. I was in the Marine Corps in a ground combat unit. I don't have the best hearing in the world. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother my wife or my kids. It's not like we don't have this like crazy sound coming, you know, but you know, I'm sure it's louder than it would be, but I put a bunch of this stuff on like the first week I had the car, so I don't have a bunch of driving experience without it. So it just has been what it's been. I don't have a lot to compare it to, but it's quieter than my wife's hardtop 4-door Jeep Wrangler. and she doesn't have anything bolted to it, but it's a brick going down the highway. So of course there's a lot of wind noise. Another question I get is what is the lift and tires done with my gas mileage? Not a lot, maybe a mile per gallon. I mean, it's got a turbo, I kind of have a heavy foot, and I drive a lot of highway miles. Or I'm not highways miles, but city miles, because I only live like 4 miles from work. So I don't do a lot of highway driving. I have taken this on a lot of long trips, long driving trips for work and vacation and stuff. And the car is really comfortable on long trips, 6, 7, 8 hour drives. I have a bad back from the Marine Corps, no issues staying comfortable in the car. But I don't do enough of that to balance out all the other miles. So I'm averaging in the high 17s to high 18 miles per gallon. If I reset it on a trip, I can get it up to like 20 something, 20.5 or whatever. That's about the highest I've gone for any extended amount of time. But it's fine. It is what it is. I would not sacrifice the turbo for a few more miles a gallon. I love the turbo. This is a fun car to drive. And I think that's the big thing is like, I bought this car to be an adventure car, and I wanted it to be different than a TRD or a Jeep or a Rubicon or all the other things you see on soft road, medium level trails that are still dependable enough and drivable enough to be everyday cars. I wanted it to be different. I get asked all the time, why didn't you just get a Jeep? Or why didn't you just get a 4Runner or a Tacoma? Because I wanted something different. And if you can have a pretty nice kitted out Tacoma or TRD and it just looks like a TRD 4Runner, and it just looks like all the other kind of kitted out ones. To me, there's a novelty to going on some intermediate trail and getting to the end where everybody's hanging out, and there's a Jeep Rubicon and a TRD Pro Tacoma and a Land Cruiser and then my station wagon. And I'm not trying to say that it can do every single thing that those other vehicles can do. But the reality is this car has done way more stuff than most Tacomas and 4Runners that I'm driving past on the highway. I'm very confident in that. I've had this thing on 2 wheels before, on the side of a cliff. I've gone up and down all kind of trails and had it into the mud to here. I mean, it's done everything. And done it well and done it comfortably. And once again, I just like the novelty that I'm doing these things in a station wagon. And I've always liked wagons. Even when I was younger, I liked the idea of like the STI wagons, the WRX XTI wagons. I liked the Honda wagons, the hatchbacks and stuff. So it's just the Mercedes and Volvo wagons. I just like wagons. And I can fit all my stuff in here and do what I need to do. I run a 2-person kayak on top of this all the time. So it's just been a great car. I love this car so much. So to have a car for 2 years that every day I get into it, it puts a smile on my face. I think that's about as good of a review as you can give for a car. Now I'm sure there's people out there who've got it and like, oh, I kind of wish it did this, or they had issues. For me and my money, this has been dollar for dollar the best car I've ever owned. And I'm 41. I've been driving. I had a license, and I've owned a vehicle since I was 15. So I've had a lot of cars. There's been times in my life where I've had multiple cars at a time, and kind of a car guy. And I've had a lot of cool cars, but dollar for dollar, when you consider reliability and utility and comfort and dependability, this is without question the best car I've ever owned, and I would buy it again 1,000,000 times over. So anyway, if you have any specific questions, if I didn't cover something that you're curious about, leave me a comment. I probably will respond faster on Instagram, so obw.adventures on Instagram is probably a better place to talk to me if you have questions or comments. Follow me there, subscribe here if you want to, and hopefully it won't be another year and a half before I do another update, but I'll wait till there's something to actually update you on. Hopefully the next thing will either be a hidden winch and a front bumper light system, or an off-roading trailer, like an overlanding trailer. I like to do that with like a tent on top of it and some stuff in there. So, and who knows what else is coming, but certainly I'm not done. They're never done. And so anyway, appreciate your time. Hit me up if you have questions.